Hello everyone, welcome back to the Pro MMA Betting Podcast. So we're going to talk about UFC Brazil happening this Saturday. First of all, as always, we're just going to recap on last week. So it was a losing night for members last week. The purple patch came to a shuddering halt. Only a small loss. We lost 3 units overall. Our action was mainly on Zelim Imadaev. Knocked out in the second round by Danny Roberts. Didn't see that coming at all. Fair play to Danny Roberts. We had 2 units on Zelim and we had him in a 1 unit double with Ankalaev, who looked great. Doucher, exactly kind of what I thought he'd be. But yeah, Zelim unfortunately couldn't bring it home for us. So 3 unit loss on pre-bets, and live betting we broke even. We would have profited a couple of units on live betting, but the Klidson fight, which I need to rewatch it is hard to be impartial when you've got money on something, but I didn't have any money on Klidson after round 1, which is when I tipped it to members, and I thought he clearly won round 1 and he clearly won round 2. Round 3 more up for debate, but it seemed like a really bad decision to me, and that was the difference between us having a couple of units profit on live betting and basically breaking even. So it was a 3 unit loss overall, 3 units down on the pre-betting, broke even on live betting. As I say every week on the podcast, guys, anyone that does sign up for the service, you need to treat it as a long-term service. You can't expect results every single week. It's impossible. If we was winning every week, I'd be a millionaire. So you need to take a long-term view with it. There are going to be losing weeks, but just know overall, over the course of 12 months, you are going to profit. So you do need to bear that in mind when considering the service. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to you that we win every week. It's impossible. All of our results are tracked. You can have a look at them, all the pre-bets, all the live betting. You can see we don't win every week, but it's a long-term investment. Most of the members that have signed up with us, I'd say 90% have signed up for the 12 months. So if you're doing 12 months, you should be taking 100% the long-term view. It's unfortunate if you come on board and you lose the first week. Yeah, it sucks. It's like, oh, for God's sakes, what have I done here? But guys, you've got to stick with it. We've got 52 weeks in a year. We've got 40 UFC shows roughly a year. There's like 20 odd Bellator shows. We've got other organisations. LFA's just been picked up by Fight Pass, so hopefully we're going to start getting odds for LFA. You've got PFL. We have boxing kind of every other week. You've really got to take the long-term view. Please don't throw your toys out of the pram after one loss. 12-month investment, guys. Treat it as such. £100 unit bettors are £12,400 in profit with us in 2019. For utilising the pre-betting and live betting service. Guys, go and try and find an investment out there that's going to give you those kind of returns. You're going to struggle. I've more encouraging news as well, and I touched on this last week, but Bet Online did have live betting for the main card. So this is big for American listeners, because I know they've always had trouble on the live betting front. You've had 5 dimes, which allows bets in between rounds, but I know you get limited there pretty quickly. There's Bet DSI, which I know offers live betting for the main card, but Bet Online jumped on board as well now. So that's big for American listeners. You can actually start to, or you've got another option for your live betting. So I'm hoping they're going to extend it to the full card like we get in Europe and the Canadians get. But at the moment it's just main card. But you know, it's small steps, and hopefully it's going to amount to a giant step when we get the whole card. But that's really positive news. Just to touch on the membership, guys, there is going to be a 3-week break after this UFC in terms of UFCs, albeit there is Bellator and Cage Warriors next weekend. Cage Warriors has been a bit hit and miss with odds over the last 18 months or so, I'd say. More miss than hit, but there's 3 title fights on the Cage Warriors card next Friday, so I'm pretty confident that we're going to get odds for that, and I've definitely got a decent sized bet lined up for Cage Warriors. So even though there is a 3-week gap, there is going to be bets for Cage Warriors next week as long as we get those odds. Bellator potentially as well, which is on the Saturday. It's in London. There's also boxing for live betting next week as well. I'm not sure what's happening the week after. I think there's boxing the week after as well. So we're definitely going to be busy next weekend. So effectively there might only be a 1 week off period. because we have the following week off, and then the following week it will be back to the UFC. So there's not really going to be any downtime. What I am going to do though, for anyone that wants to subscribe, anyone that does subscribe for membership between now and not UFC Brazil, the following UFC, the one on the 7th of December, I will start your membership from the 7th of December, but I will still give you any bets that we have during that 3-week break. So I appreciate there's a 3-week break, and I appreciate some guys probably only bet on the UFC and so forth, and don't really bet the boxing or join in for the live betting for the boxing, etc. So any new members, whether you buy a monthly package or a yearly package, I won't start your new membership until the 7th of December, even if you sign up today. But you will still get any bets and access to live betting for any events before the 7th of December. But just a little incentive there. So you're going to basically get a few weeks free, and then we'll have the 3 UFCs, then we'll have the year break, which I think is about 3 weeks, and then I'm sure there will be a flurry of UFC events that will probably run for 8, 9, 10 weeks. And we get back into the flow of things. So please bear that in mind. The annual membership, guys, is only £195 for 12 months. As I said, if you bet £100 per unit, you're £12,400 in profit this year. Take off your membership, £12,200 in profit. Go and find me a better return on an investment, please. We offer pre-betting, live betting tips. Live betting is done through Discord. We do it on audio. I also type the text, the bets as well. So if you can't listen to the audio, you can just keep your eyes fixated on the screen, and you'll see the tips as they're laid out. Pre-bets are emailed out every week as and when I come across one that we want to tip. So it's a nice and easy, simple service. Any questions, you can drop me an email. Please give us a follow on Twitter at Pro MMA Betting. All packages are available on prommabetting.com, and please hit the subscribe button, guys. Let's try and get this channel as popular as we can. So that's enough about the service now. Let's go into this card. Let's break it down as we always do from bottom to top. So first fight is the women's bantamweight division. We've got Vanessa Melo taking on Tracy Cortez. Kind of the conventional wisdom seems to be that Tracy Cortez is going to do enough grinding on defence and hit enough takedowns to get this decision. She's moving up for the first time to 135 here. Melo, she's fought a lot at 125, like Cortez, but she's been up at 135 for a while now. She had a baby, and she put on a little bit of weight. Maybe it's been hard to shift some of it, so she's kind of stuck with 135. She's quite thick set, Vanessa Melo, so she's got quite a low centre of gravity. She's got quite big legs, so I'm interested to see how easy it will be for Tracy Cortez to take her down. It's going to be interesting to see how they match up physically here in the clinch, where I think a lot of the fight is probably going to play out. I definitely give Vanessa Melo the advantage on the feet. She's not a great striker by any stretch of the imagination, but Tracy Cortez is really limited on the feet. She's definitely going to look to grind her here. I watched a few fights of Melo's. One of them in particular, I can't remember what fight it was, but it's pretty much contested in the clinch. She knows what she's doing in the clinch. She knows when to use a whizzer. She knows when to go for her underhook. So, she's not completely clueless there. Tracy Cortez does have some solid wrestling, but I just wonder how she's going to match up on the physical side here, and if she can just hit takedowns when she wants, and how good is her top control. I'm not sure if she's the kind that takes you down and keeps you down for the rest of the round. So I think this is going to be a fairly competitive fight. I know a lot of people are confident on Tracy. I can't really get behind her at -200 personally. I'm just not sure how this looks when they do, as I said, meet up in the clinch, how they will look physically, and whether Tracy can just control the clinch for the duration of the fight, and if she can mix in the takedowns. And like I said, she is at a disadvantage on the feet, so it does make me a little bit nervous. If she can't routinely take Melo down or control her, she could lose a decision here. But I will pick Cortez, because Melo is just doesn't excel anywhere. She is pretty basic. It goes to a decision, is sky high, like -365. I don't see her finishing the fight. Cortez by decision. Let's have a look at what that is. Cortez decision -125. I mean, that's too bad. I wouldn't go big on this fight no matter what, because I just don't feel I've got a solid read on Cortez controlling this fight. But I think if I was going to play it, I'd definitely look at Cortez decision -125. Mello decision is sitting at +285. I don't think that's the worst play in the world. If you're interested in the dog, yeah, I think kind of whatever way you lean there, I'd personally just play the decision. I wouldn't go big on it because I don't personally have a strong lean on this fight, but I think there's value on either decision line depending on how confident you are. Women's flyweight division next. We've got Ariane Lipski taking on Veronica Macedo. This is a very difficult fight to call. I still don't have a solid read on Veronica Macedo's stand-up. She is explosive, she's got good kicks, she's got fast hands, but I've only seen her in spurts because all of her fights she's just been clinched and taken down and wrestled. Not actually seen her actually have a stand-up fight for 3 rounds, just to see how her stand-up looks across the course of 3 rounds. She's kind of always been at physical disadvantages. The AES fight, she was at physical disadvantage. The Lee fight, physical disadvantage. And then her last fight, I can't remember the Brazilian girl's name, but she took her down straight away. But then Macedo managed to hit the submission. So, I mean, Macedo probably should be at 115. You know, she's struggling with the physicality. Lipski's going to be the bigger lady here. She's probably going to be the stronger girl in the clinch, but this is the first fight Macedo's had in the UFC where it's doubtful she's going to have to worry about takedowns. She's probably going to get a stand-up fight here. Is Macedo going to fight smart? Will she try and take Lipski down, which is clearly a area of deficiency for Lipski? So, I mean, when I was looking at this earlier in the week, I said, you know, if you could get Lipski +150, I think that's probably worth a bet. She was never quite up there. I think I saw her about +130. The line is literally now a pick'em, which I think is probably spot on. It's just a hard fight to get a read on. Lipski's obviously fallen way short of the expectations that were placed upon her when she came into the UFC. I think she's a little bit chinny as well. I saw her get dropped in KSW. She's been KO'd before. She got dropped by Molly McCann as well. You know, she fights in spurts as well. I don't fully trust her cardio. I remember that being a concern when I watched her 5-rounder before her UFC debut. She gassed against Calderwood. I know that's probably due to the grappling, but it's just hard to know what game plan Veronica's going to come in with here, because we've always seen her kind of dictated to in fights, but here she's not got to worry about the takedown. If anything, it's Lipski that's got to worry about the takedown threat. Macedo did take down Andrea Lee. We also saw her stuff a shot from Gillian Robinson and used the momentum to get on top. I mean, she's not going to be stuffing shots from Lipski, so that's not going to happen. But as I said, she did hit a takedown on Lee. So is she going to try and mix in the grappling here, Macedo? She's quite scrambly on the mat. But we've seen Macedo slow down as well. It's just a real tough fight to call, guys. I would have picked whoever had the plus number, but it's literally a pick'em at the moment. I mean, any value on this fight? It's just tough. I mean, Lipski TKO is like +1100. I mean, she has got some power. She's got KO wins outside of the UFC. But even then, it's just kind of hard to have. I mean, look, I can't fault anyone stabbing that +1100. It does seem pretty high. Yeah, I just don't see any value on this fight. I'm going to pick. They're both literally. It's literally a pick 'em there on the price, which is a shame. I would have picked the dog. I'm going to go pick 'em line. I'll pick Macedo. Not confident at all. Like I said, if I could have got either of them at +150, it would have been worth a stab, but never transpired. It's pick 'em line. I think that's spot on. I'll pick Macedo with the smallest of confidence. Next, men's featherweight division. So we've got both men moving up here to 145. Douglas Silva, Andrade taking on Henan Barral. So Henan looked pretty good in round one against Luke Sanders. I actually bet Luke Sanders in that fight, and I was pretty worried after round one, especially when you bear in mind Sanders is a bit of a flake. What Barao did do well in that first round is he used a lot of body kicks. They're not going to be there for him here though. Sanders is a southpaw, so it opens up the body to the kick. It's not here against Andrade, who is an orthodox fighter. So kind of interesting to see what Barao's approach will be here, because that was his go-to move in that first round. He spammed it over and over, and I mean it was working effectively. I'm not knocking it when I say he spammed it. It was working really well for him. But this man is a shell of a fighter. Moving up to 145 here. I think that's a smart idea. He can't make 135. I don't know why he still keeps trying to do it as he's getting older. It's just getting more and more difficult. It's jeopardising his chin most likely as well. So perhaps his chin would be better at 145. Perhaps his cardio might be a bit better. We last saw him at 145 against Nova, and it wasn't the most inspiring performance, to be fair. But I definitely think going to 145 is the right move for him. But he is a shell of a fighter. Douglas De Silva, Andrade. I'm not overly high on Andrade, to be completely honest with you. He's actually older than Barao, but he's definitely not taken the punishment or shown signs of being shot. It's coming off a loss to Peter Yan, tough fight for him. Peter Yan's a beast. Before that he beat Marlon Vera, which was a decent performance. But Douglas is quite he's a bit of a brawler. He's not got much finesse to his game. He'll throw power shots. He's got no knockouts in the UFC besides the spinning back fist against Enrique Brions. And I remember live betting Enrique Brions. I don't necessarily think or thought that Brions was going to win, but I remember the odds were way wider than I thought they should have been. I think I might have got him at like plus 300 or something, but I'm going back a long time. I can't remember exactly, but I do remember live betting Brions in that fight. And Douglas, he kind of doesn't fight too often. You go back a few years, I'd definitely be all over Barao here. He's definitely the more technical fighter. It's just, can his cardio hold up for 3 rounds? He's up at 145 now. Can he avoid eating a big power shot? Andrade does have power, but he's got a lot of knockouts outside the UFC. It just hasn't really transpired once he's stepped up to the higher level. But Barao is starting to look chinny. Look, one thing I can say, I definitely don't trust Andrade as a minus 245 favourite. I was looking to get him. I was kind of considering him at anything better than minus 200, which is the territory he opened in, but I don't know. I've done the tape, and look, I think Barao could look good early here. It's probably a good live bet fight, because I wouldn't be shocked if Barao wins round 1. Line will obviously change then on live betting. You'll probably get Barao around a pick'em if he wins round 1, unless the books haven't done their research. You might get an even better price. But then it's just, can Andrade put him away? And I don't know, man. The odds have me, like I say on this podcast every week, guys, some of my picks aren't actually who I think is going to win. I just go with the value. Now, I can't pull the trigger on Henan Barao even at plus 200. I just can't risk money on him in 2019. But if you put a gun to my head and said I have to bet someone based on the line value, I'm going to pick Henan Barao. I know I'm going to be in the minority here. No one probably is, but I think he's going to win round 1. If he can avoid, I don't know though. Andrade is going to bring pressure. Barao's going to slow down. Look, if you like Henan Barao and want to stab him, let's see what his decision line is. If it's drastically different to the money line, plus 365. Look, if you like Barao here and think he can win this fight, I think Barao by decision plus 365 is a decent bet. Obviously, don't go big on it. It's Henan Barao. But I always say, if you're getting someone as a dog, do not put all the money onto a prop bet. So if you want to bet Barao here, I'd put half of whatever you're betting on Barao decision and half on Barao's money line. It's very tempting to pick him here based on the line, but I just see him falling apart after round 2. I just think Andrade's pressure will get to him. No, I'm not picking Burrell. I nearly did. I'm going to go with Andrade, either by decision or a late round 2 or round 3 stoppage. I just think Burrell will start well, but I think Andrade will get to him. Henan Burrell, I've been saying it for ages. Henan Burrell's the most shot fighter in the UFC. I can't go and pick him just based on the odds, but I'm not massively impressed with Andrade, but he is a bit of a savage, so let's go with Andrade here. I'm not betting him though. Let's see what inside the distance is actually for Andrade. Andrade by KO plus 185. Well, that's not bad. Inside the distance plus 165. Yeah, me personally, if I was going to bet Andrade here, I wouldn't touch that money line. I would bet him to win inside the distance at plus 165 personally. I think that's a decent price. He does crack, and Burrell's chin's definitely not what it was, but at 145 maybe it will look better. But yeah, for me personally, if I was going to bet Andrade here, it would definitely be inside the distance. I'm not taking the minus 250. Next up, Wally Alves, Randy Brown. So this fight will be live bettable. We might even get the Andrade Henan Burrell fight live bettable if the previous 2 fights go to distance, which they probably will. So there might be a shot there of getting the Burrell fight for live betting. So let's hope the other 2 fights go to distance. But Wally Alves, Randy Brown, definitely a live bettable fight. And I personally, based on the lines, think that is the best spot for it. Wally Alves, he's a hard guy. He's a hard man to get a read on. I was quite high on him. Then I've gone quite low on him, and then decent performance last time out. He's 28 years of age, still fairly young. Did he show improvement against Sergio Moraes, or was it just a perfect stylistic matchup with Sergio fading? Didn't look good against James Krause, kind of 9 months prior. I didn't even think his performances against Salim Tawari and Sultan Ali were that impressive. I bet him against Sultan Ali, and I mean, yeah, he won the fight, and I just wasn't overly impressed. And then the James Krause fight, it just looked awful. And then he looked really good against Sergio Moraes. But I mean, Wally's always had a problem with pacing, always goes out too hard and gasses himself out. You know, jumps for that guillotine a lot. But he's got potentially a difficult stylistic matchup here with Randy Brown, who's long, rangy. He's going to try and fight him long. But Randy Brown does have a weakness to low kicks. We saw that in the Bilal fight. He can be taken down as well. Wally's got, we saw it back against like Nordin Taleb. He's got a decent shot when he wants to use it. He can catch kicks as well and get takedowns from there. So it's going to be interesting to see how he approaches this fight, but he's definitely going to have to use the low kicks. But we saw them against Sergio Moraes. That's the opening here for him against Randy Brown. But as I always say, judges always favour headshots over low kicks, unless they're the kind of low kicks that are being whipped in and doing clear damage, or the calf kicks, which is a fairly new phenomenon in MMA. When we saw it last week with the Rocco Martin fight, judges were definitely awarding them calf kicks, especially when you could see that they was doing damage, they was hurting the move. So this is a hard fight to call. I think the line's spot on at the moment as a pick'em. I think again, kind of similar to the Lipski Macedo fight, if you could have got anyone in the plus 150 area, I think it was definitely worth a bet, either guy. But here pick'em, I can't bet the fight. It's a very hard one to call. I think Randy Brown is definitely improving. If we are going back to that Bilal Muhammad fight, I think he's definitely improved since then. He was looking pretty good against Nico Price until he got caught with that bizarre knockout, and I know that's led to questions about his chin as well, but I don't know. Nico Price has just got some freaky power, man. And then he's coming off that really good performance against Brian Barberina, who, it was a quick turnaround for Brian after the war with Luque, but still, that aside, it was a solid performance from Randy. He's got a very good frame for the weight class. He is 29 years of age though, so I guess it's now or never for him. He seems to have improved, but at that age, there's not much scope for much more improvement. So let's see how he looks here. It's 5 months since his last fight, so could be some more improvement. Based on the odds at the moment, I mean, it's basically a pick 'em, but Randy Brown is plus 100. I'm going to go with Randy Brown here to win this one, but it's a very hard fight to be confident in. The over is minus 140. I'm quite surprised at that. Wally is, I mean, before the Krause fight, he'd always shown to be really, really durable. I'd be surprised if there's a finish here. Fight goes to a decision, it's minus 115. That does surprise me. I mean, Randy's been stopped. He's been submitted once as well. I guess there is a bit of a concern on the ground, I guess, if Wally takes him down. He's got that guillotine threat. I think I do see this fight playing out on the feet mainly, and I don't think that's bad value on that fight going to a decision. Wally's not, I mean, he's coming off that knockout win, but he's not really been a finisher in the UFC. The Sultan Ali fight was stopped due to swelling. Obviously he's got the guillotine, but that's kind of, you know, besides the Sérgio fight, that's the only way he really tends to win inside the distance. But Randy Brown, well, I mean, Wally would just drop from it, won't he, from the clinch. He's not even got to be off a shot. I was going to say Randy won't be going for takedowns, but it doesn't mean he can't hit it here. He just jump guard for it from the clinch. So obviously Randy's got to be careful with his neck, but he is pretty tall, so it's going to be hard for Wally to grab a hold of his neck and prise him down in that kind of manner. He's probably, against someone like Randy, you're going to need to snatch it off of a transition on the mat or off of a takedown attempt. So yeah, I quite like that actually. Fight goes to decision minus 115. I thought it'd be higher than that. Brown to win. Let's see what Brown by decision is. Plus 230. I don't think that's bad either. I mean, depending whatever way you like, whoever you lean here, I think there's value on the fight goes to a decision. I think there's value if you do like Brown on Brown winning by decision. But again, he's plus 100. If you're going to bet Randy Brown, don't just bet Brown to win by decision. At least split it with the money line, because you're getting a good price on the money line. Wally Alves, what's Alves by submission? Plus 400. It's not a bad stab if you're into your prop bets. I don't think that's the worst bet in the world. Alves to win by decision is plus 320. Plus 320, really? Man, those decision lines seem off, man. He's the favourite and decision is plus 320. That's his most likely path. In my opinion anyway. Yeah, I think if you like Wally, again, I think you could definitely look at, again, the money line's only minus 120, so make sure you take the money line as well, but Wally decision plus 320, that does surprise me. Wally submission plus 400, I don't think that's bad either. I like Brown to win by decision as well, plus 230. I think there's some value there if you're into your prop bets, and I like the fight going to a decision at over 2.5 minus 140. Fight goes to a decision minus 115. For me, it's easier to bet the over because I don't have access to online books, and main book I use that will offer overs or fight goes a distance is Bet Online, but they only offer the over. So I'd probably have to take the over personally unless I went to William Hill shop. But yeah, I definitely think there's some, if you've got a lean on either side there, I think there's definitely some value. I don't particularly have a strong lean either way, but there's definitely value on those prop bets for me. As for a pick, I think I said, but I picked Randy just because he's the one with the plus number at the moment, even though it's basically a pick 'em. He is the one at plus 100, so I'll go with Randy Brown decision. Lightweight division next, we've got Francisco Trinaldo taking on Bobby Green. Another tough fight to call. I think the line's pretty much spot on with it being pretty much a pick 'em. Trinaldo, he's 41 years of age. I've been saying it for years that I've been reluctant to bet him because he's going to look old all of a sudden. It still hasn't happened. He only fought about 5 months ago, and he looked fine there against Hernandez. But there is going to be a point where he turns up and looks old because he's a lighter weight fighter that you just can't compete at that weight class without Father Time catching up with you sooner rather than later. You do rely on your reflexes and speed more at lightweight than the higher weight classes, so it just becomes more evident earlier. Trinaldo fights out of a southpaw stance. He's a strong kickboxer. He moves forward. He's not someone that gets backed up, but it's weird to say, but even though he moves forward, he's more of a counter striker. He will, even though he'd be the one edging forward, he will wait to counter you. He's not the fastest guy in the world. Bobby Green's definitely going to have the speed advantage here. It's hard to see it with the naked eye, but I wonder if Trinaldo's hand speed has dropped a little bit. He just from watching some of his recent fights, just kind of misses a lot on the counter. It doesn't help that he winds up a little bit rather than throws the shot straight, so it's always going to make it harder to land. But I don't know if he's slowed slightly in that respect. But Bobby Green isn't someone that's hard to hit. Bobby tries to shoulder roll. It's a very difficult method of defence to use in MMA with the small gloves, and Bobby does pretty well at rolling with the shots, so he doesn't eat too many shots at full power, but he does eat a lot of shots regardless. So he's going to be doing his normal shoulder rolling. He's going to be probably trying to counter the counters of Trinaldo, and he will have that speed advantage, but I just don't really know where Bobby Green's at. He's had another year out from competition. He's coming off a bit of a bad spell as well. If you look at his record, he's coming off the loss to Close. I know a lot of people scored that for Bobby Green. I scored that fight for Close. I've rewatched it, and I think he won that fight. It was close. I've got no problem with someone scoring it for Green, but anyone that's saying it was a robbery is out of their mind. It was a very close fight. So yeah, he lost that fight there, and then Eric Koch fight before that. He had a bad round one. He got out struck, got taken down, but Koch slowed and Bobby Green took over. He had the draw with Lando Veneta. He would have lost that fight if it wasn't for the point deduction, and he might have even got saved by the illegal knee in round one. He was in big trouble in round one, and then the illegal knee drew the interruption and the break in the fight. So that could easily have been a loss for him there. And then he's got 3 straight losses prior to that, so he could have lost 4 of his last 5. And Eric Koch fight, he lost round 1. Kind of Koch slowed down. Koch's shot, injury plagued. So Bobby Green's back's against the wall here. He probably gets cut if he loses this fight. He is an entertaining fighter. I know Dana White's a fan of him, and I know he's talked about retirement and stuff as well. So yeah, all these factors just have me leaning towards Trinaldo. The fight's in Brazil. The crowd are going to be roaring. He's every shot that he fires, everything he lands, everything that misses. It can manipulate the judging. I do see this going to a decision. I do see it being a close fight, but I do lean Trinaldo as long as he doesn't show up and has fallen off a shelf. But I just think he's going to land. I mean, the one thing with Trinaldo is his volume isn't great. Bobby Green does throw more volume, but Trinaldo's going to be throwing the more powerful shots probably. And as I said, the crowd reaction is big in Brazil. It really does sway judging. And I think in a close fight, it's probably going to go to Trinaldo. So I'll go with Trinaldo. I've ummed over betting this fight. I don't know if I can. I still haven't pulled the trigger, but it's kind of tempting to bet Trinaldo here. But as I said, it is going to be a close fight. But it is in Brazil. I think this fight goes to a decision as well. Bobby Green's durable, Trinaldo's durable. I mean, the over and fight goes the distance is unplayable. But if you've got a strong lean either side, again, let's look at the decision props, because I do see this going to a decision. Trinaldo plus 145. No, forget about it. Just take the money line if you like Trinaldo. Green by decision is plus 200. Again, if you like Green, I think you could definitely look at a split between the money line and decision prop. Whether you want to split it 50-50 or never do less than 50% on the money line and more on the prop. Always, do, I don't know, if you can split it 50-50, but if you want to be careful that you don't get burnt, maybe 75% on the money line, 25% on decision. But I think there's a bit of value on the Green decision there, because I don't see him stopping Trinaldo. That's if you like Bobby Green though. I personally am leaning towards Trinaldo here, so I'll pick Trinaldo to win a decision. Ricardo Ramos taking on Luiz Garagori next. So Ramos fighting at home here. Garagori is Argentinian, I believe. Garagori, very hard man to get tape on. I remember him fighting Bandonnet, and there's just barely any tape, and his opposition pre-UFC is an absolute joke. Actually, he's from Uruguay, not Argentina. He took on Bandonnet UFC debut, won a competitive decision. I mean, he looks okay. Garagori's nothing really stood out for me. Definitely didn't like his takedown defence. Bandonnet took him down an awful number of times in that fight. Ricardo Ramos is moving up to 145 here. Not sure why. He does look a good size for a 135, and he has slowed down in the past. Maybe it's a tough cut for him. He's only 24. Maybe his frame's filling out. Cut might be getting more difficult. He's coming off that win over Journey Newson. Pretty comfortable decision win there. Ramos trains at Team Alpha Male. He's very well rounded. I definitely think if he takes the path of least resistance here through the grappling, it's a comfortable win for him. I didn't like Garagori's takedown defence. Ramos has got solid takedowns, and a good ground game, but he does tend to like standing on the feet, Ramos. So on the feet, it's closer fight. I'd probably still lean Ricardo Ramos. I think he's the cleaner striker, but Garagori could make it a dirty fight on the feet. He's more of the type that wants to try and engage you in a brawl. So Ramos has got to be careful there. He's got to fight smart. But he tends to fight. I mean, he's very well trained, Ramos, very technical. But it's definitely the wisest path for him here is back Garagori up, just hit those takedowns and just dominate on the mat. And I don't see him having an issue winning this fight as long as he fights smart. And he's with Tam. He should come in with a smart game plan. There's nothing on the money line now, guys. That's gone. It's minus 300. I think anyone that got minus 200 or better, I think that was a good bet on Ricardo Ramos. But now it's getting kind of unplayable now. Minus 300 territory. I guess if you want to do a parlay, you need a parlay leg. Ramos is an option, but minus 300 is it's getting a bit too high. I think you've missed the boat on that one, guys, to be honest, if you haven't bet it yet. But the pick there for me is Ricardo Ramos. Last fight before we get to the main card is Sergio Moraes taking on James Krause. Hard fight for me to get a full read on, because James Krause, prior to the Wally Alves fight, was talking about retirement. He was moving up to welterweight, even though he's not a particularly big lightweight. He didn't look great against Alex White. There was just a lot of red flags, and he came in and produced a career best performance against Wally Alves, totally dominated him, and actually ended up putting him away. He's been out like for like 15 months, hasn't fought since. I think he's got a lot on with his gym, and I think he's more of a trainer now than or sees himself more as a trainer than a fighter. Just maybe taking a fight here and there just to pick up a paycheck. I don't know. I don't think his head's fully in the kind of fighting now, but I don't like to play psychologist when I'm betting, and I kind of had all these retirement thoughts and whatnot pre the Wally fight, and he looked absolutely fantastic. He's taken on, probably a lesser version of Wally Alves really here. I mean, Sergio's more dangerous on the mat with his submission game, but he is 37 years of age now, Sergio. He's not as good a striker as Wally Alves. We've seen him lose already to someone with a similar-ish style in Rocco Martin, who took a comfortable decision. And you just see in Sergio's fights, he just seems pretty content to stand. I mean, the Ben Saunders fight, he went for the takedowns and dominated on the mat, but the Tim Means fight, he just stood with Tim Means for 3 rounds, and he got really fortunate for me with that decision. He should have lost 4 of his last 5, in my opinion. He's not looked great the last couple, but if he does come out takedown heavy here, maybe he can get James Krause down, but it's hard to trust Krause. As good as that performance was against Alves, just looking at it kind of prior, he has been wrestled in the past, but Sergio just doesn't really pursue takedowns that heavily. And I mean, I'm not that high on Sergio. I think the Zach Otto fight was really close. I haven't got a problem if someone scored that for Zach Otto, to be completely honest with you. I think he lost the Tim Means fight. The Davey Ramos fight, they both just cancelled each other out. Two excellent grapplers just stuck on the feet, and Ramos is down at 155 now. It's not the most impressive win. I mean, he did knock out Amari Akhmedov, but he was losing that fight. He was 2 rounds down clearly and just produced a KO out of nowhere. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not high on. I've got to go with Krause here. I've got to look at their recent performances. Sergio's not looked good his last couple of fights. He's 37. Yeah, there's questions about Krause and kind of why he's fighting and so forth, but we had all these before the Worley fight and he looked great, and I think Worley's a more dangerous fight than Sergio. This one is in Brazil, so James does need to be careful on the point side of things. We've seen Sergio get fortunate decision in Brazil before, but I have to go with Krause here. I don't know if I can get behind the price though, but I will pick Krause to win that fight. Right, we're on to the main card now. Another fight that's pretty tough to call. We've got Markus Perez taking on Wellington Turman. Markus Perez, bit of a wild man. Seen him in the UFC numerous times now. It doesn't have the most intelligent game plans. He has a lot of spin. He is tough though. He's very opportunistic. He's got a good body kick from the southpaw stance. And we've seen that opportunism a few times. If you can find his LFA fight against Ian Heinisch, the very opportunistic submission that he hits on Ian, and he was pretty opportunistic with his submission, the anaconda choke he hit on Hernandez as well. His cage awareness is poor. He lets himself get backed into the fence way too much. Real poor cage awareness, similar to Roosevelt Roberts. Wellington Turman, what I can't get a read on with Wellington is his stand-up. Yeah, you can watch fights pre-UFC, but the guy's only 23. I couldn't find his last fight before the UFC, so you're kind of starting to go back a while, because between the Rodrigo Jesus fight in November 2017, he had a year off, fought again in December 2018. And then his next fight you can't find, which was in April, and then he obviously has got the Carl Robertson fight. So stand up, I'm not entirely sure on, but because there just isn't much of it against Carl Robertson, it's mainly a grappling affair. But the first couple of minutes is stand up in round 1, and his stand up actually looked alright. But I just can't get a read on how this fight's going to play out exactly on the feet. But due to that, I just haven't seen enough of Wellington's stand up, and as I said, he's 23. He should be improving rapidly at the moment. He's definitely a strong grappler from top position. What I didn't like is his bottom game. He got stuck on the bottom against Carl a couple of times after taking Carl's back, and he just offered nothing off his back whatsoever. So he needs to be careful with that here. Markus is the kind of guy though that if he does get top position, he's probably going to favour submission over position, so he might give Wellington the opportunity to get back to his feet, as opposed to maybe fighting smarter and maintaining top position to get the points. It's not really Perez's style, so it's kind of hard to trust him in that respect. Wellington is the bigger man physically. How they're going to match up in the clinch. Perez is pretty tough to take down. He's got good takedown defence. I think he will scramble well. I can't see Turman just taking him down and dominating Perez on the mat. And he, as I said, he did give up position a few times to Robertson. If Robertson can do that, then Perez can. So I've kind of got myself leaning towards Perez here, but it's not a confident read because I don't have a full read on Wellington's full skill set yet. But I just feel he's going to find it tough to get Perez down, albeit Perez is going to back into that fence and give him the clinch. Wellington isn't a chain wrestler or someone that shoots doubles. It's pretty much body locks and takedowns off the body lock. But he will give those openings to Wellington because he backs into the fence and he does a lot of spin. As soon as you spin, you leave the body lock open. So he is going to give Wellington those opportunities. Probably going to be a fair bit of the fight on the clinch. I just don't know how it plays at range, but I do worry Wellington. He likes to take the back, but he lost it a few times against Carl. Could lose it against Perez, but as I said, Perez is more likely to look for submissions and maintain position. So it's just that Perez is a hard guy for me to trust. So basically a pick'em line now. Another one, it shows how competitive this card is. Wow, the over is really favoured. Fight goes to decisions, minus 250. I don't get why that's so high. Perez is a finisher. Wellington's got a good sub game. A tough fight to call. I'll go. It's pick'em on the lines. I'll go with Markus Perez, but as I said, guys, he's hard to trust. If you're going to bet him, I definitely wouldn't go big, because like I said, if he gets on top, he's probably likely to look for a sub and he end up losing the position. And where he could just ground Wellington probably for the rest of the round, because he's so bad off his back, he probably won't. And he's a wild man on the feet. As I said, he'll give up the body lock and he backs into the fence. He's just a hard guy to trust. But it's a pick'em line. It's a pass for me, and I'd pass as a better if I was you. But for the sake of making a pick, I will pick Perez here. But as I said, that I don't have a full read on Wellington yet. We've not seen his full game. Next fight, we've got two Contender Series alumni, Andre Muniz taking on Antonio Arroyo. Another pick-em fight on the lines, and I kind of agree with that. It's a very hard fight to call. Antonio is going to want to keep this fight on the feet. He's very kick heavy. He's going to spam kicks on Muniz. Muniz is more the grappler. He's going to want to get this fight to the floor and look for the submission. Muniz, he can be aggressive on the feet. He will throw the hands. You can see it's quite rudimentary, but he's got some power. But he's got to be careful he doesn't get caught from a big counter off Antonio. If that's how he tries to kind of take the clinch, if he tries to punch his way into the clinch. Antonio trains with John Jones. He uses a lot of movement for a big guy, but his cardio seems to hold up okay. So he's going to be moving around, throwing out kicks here. Muniz is going to be the one that's going to be looking for the takedown. Honestly, guys, I can't get a read on it. I'm going to make a pass on the actual pick. What I would say is, now, fight over 2.5 rounds is minus 110, which, when you look at their records, they've both hardly ever been to decision. So it looks like a solid bet. I'm just worried it might be a little bit of a trap bet, because both of them went to a decision on the Contender Series. Now, their records are very padded. They've stopped a lot of low level competition as soon as they stepped up on Contender Series. Now, I know they've both got a stoppage each on Contender Series, but they've also got a decision each. It just worries me if, they're quite evenly matched, and it's not like Arroyo is going to go out there and start you with his hands. He's pretty kick heavy. If he's going to get a KO, it's more than likely off a kick. And kick KOs are pretty low percentage, and they're a lot harder to hit as you go up the levels. And Muniz, I thought against Aziz, he was very content to sit in that guy's guard. I know that guy's a judo black belt, I'm just in jiu-jitsu black belt, but wasn't really kind of going actively for the submissions here, and not really seeing Antonio's ground game. He did get taken down against Regman a couple of times off of caught kicks, so he's got to be careful against Muniz. But yeah, I went from thinking that's a definite bet inside the distance to thinking, is it a trap bet? Especially if both guys start slowing. As I said, Antonio does have a very cardio heavy style. Muniz seemed to slow a little bit in that 3-rounder, and if both guys start to slow, the chance of a stoppage lessens. So yeah, I don't know if I'm going to bet that now. I've just got a feeling it might be a trap bet. Probably come out and get a round one finish now. But yeah, I think the line is lined like it is for a reason. After I've looked at tape, before tape I was thinking, it's crazy, but yeah, I can't make a prediction on that fight, guys. I just haven't got a read on enough of a read on either guy, so it's a pass for me. Next up, we have my favourite fighter, Charles Oliveira. I love watching Charles Oliveira. Such an entertaining fighter, taking on Jared Gordon. I personally think Charles Oliveira is going to roll here. You watched Jared Gordon's last fight against Dan Moret, and he was in trouble in the grappling. He was struggling with him. Kind of eked out a decision win. I know people bring up Charles Oliveira's flakiness, and it's probably always going to be there. You have that in you. It's probably something you don't lose. I do think he's a bit more gritty now. He showed that against Tamor. He got eye poked and it looked like he was looking for a way out. Because I remember when I didn't bet the fight. I was very tempted to bet Oliveira pre-fight because I think he was the underdog, but I didn't. And I remember thinking, like, when the eye poke situation occurred, I was like, oh, thank God I didn't. He's flaking. But then he came back and he actually showed a bit of mettle. He was actually calling Tamor on, saying, come on, bring it on. Which don't normally see from Oliveira. So I'm hoping he's turned the corner there, but he's just not really been tested. And, you know, Jared Gordon's the kind of guy that could test that. He's a very gritty guy, very heavy pressure, but Charles for me just been looking great. He's got solid stand-up. He's very upright, so he is hittable. He's got very good takedowns. Even that is still underappreciated. He can take Jared Gordon down, no problem. And on the ground, the guy's just a wizard. So for me, I just think Oliveira's going to probably hit a submission here. I mean, a knockout wouldn't shock me. I mean, the money line's sky high now. It's basically minus 400, so you can't be going near that. But the under is set at minus 120. I'm not really an under better, especially 1.5, but if you're going to bet an under, guys, it's probably an idea to bet it in a Charles Oliveira fight. Oliveira inside the distance is sitting at, I think it was like minus 170 last time I looked. It's shot up, minus 200. Those kind of prop bets are never appealing at that price. What's his submission? Oliveira to win by submission. Plus minus 135. You're running the risk that Oliveira could get a knockout. His stand-up's definitely improved. He's coming off a knockout win over Lentz, but I mean, you could probably just I'd be tempted just to stab the submission one. You can't go big on it because you end up knocking him out. But Oliveira submission minus 135. So dangerous with his subs. It's probably got a little bit of value. That's how good that guy is with his submissions. But yeah, Oliveira all day for me. I'll go for Oliveira by submission there, and I just hope he gets a step up next because they're giving him all these fights against guys he should be beating. I mean, I guess he's not complaining. He's racking up the performance of the night bonuses. But yeah, I want to see him get a step up. If he wins here, I want to step up for Oliveira. Let's see where he's really at. Let's see him get tested. Let's see if he is going to flake still. Right, co-main event. We've got Shogun Hua taking on Paul Craig. Look, man, I've seen a lot of people that seem to be on Paul Craig here. I mean, it doesn't line up with the money because the money's coming in on Shogun. So either these people aren't bettors or they're very small bettors. But look, I just don't look. Shogun is shot. Let's get out of the way. He isn't the fighter he once was. Fact. He's slower now. His chin's not great. He's had a lot of injuries. He's not the fighter he once was. But to me, stylistically, this just seems like an awful fight for Paul Craig. I just don't see how he wins this fight besides another sub off the bottom. And look, the line's gone there. He's like nearly minus 300, but I mean, he opened up he was sitting around minus 170 or so, minus 200. Low minus 200s for quite a while, and if I'm fading someone hitting a submission from the bottom at light heavyweight, I don't think that's a bad price to take, even if it is on Shogun. I've not got the light heavyweight roster in front of me. I may not bet Shogun as a favourite against anyone else on the light heavyweight roster, but Paul Craig he's just not a good fighter. He's been very fortunate. The Ankalaev fight, this crazy submission, he was going to lose a 30-27 decision, 1 second left. The Kennedy and Jekwu fight, he was going to lose a clear decision there, pulled out the triangle from the bottom with 40 seconds left. There were two fights that he should have lost. Fair play, he pulled out the wins, but I mean, really, in all truth, he should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He should be 2 and 6 in the UFC. with wins over the two awful guys, Frankenstein and Moreira. But he's pulled out them wins, fair play. It's kept his career in the UFC alive. The UFC aren't going to cut him anytime soon because, you know, he's entertaining. He's kill or be killed. I say he's entertaining. He's not really entertaining because his style isn't. It's just awful. But he gets knocked out, which is entertaining, or he'll just pull out a last-minute sub out of nowhere, which, you know, you only ever remember the end of a fight, really, don't you? Even if it's been awful, you just remember that end part. So, you know, fair play to the fella. He's managed to make a career out of it. He's probably picked up a few bonuses with the submission wins he's racking up, so I'm glad he's making some money. He's never been to a decision. I don't see him going to a decision here. I think Shogun's going to knock him out. What's going to happen here? Paul Craig's got no stand-up. You know, he spams some shitty high kicks. He's got 0 hands. I know he knocked Castro out or Moreira out for all intents and purposes, but it was off of Moreira going for a takedown and he framed and hit the knee. Shogun's not going to be going for takedowns. It's not going to happen here. So the only way I honestly see him winning is he's going to come out, he's going to spam takedowns, that double. He's got a decent double, like the timing with it, but it's all he's got, a double leg. Shogun's got a solid takedown defence. Even if he gets on top, Paul just isn't great on top. You know, he's shown to be dangerous from the bottom and bottom only. So I'm not overly concerned. And on the feet, yeah, Shogun has slowed down on the feet, but this is one of the biggest hitters, guys. I've been following this sport a long time. I remember Shogun back in the day, and yeah, he's not the same fighter. I've already said that. We know that. We're not under any false pretenses here, but the guy cracks hard. And if this fight's on the feet, he's going to land on Paul Craig. I can't even remember how to say his name. So I just think he's getting knocked out. You know, I've seen some people saying Paul can win by KO, submission or decision. I just don't see it unless in the last year Shogun has absolutely deteriorated. I just don't see it in a million years. Now look, I'm not saying play Shogun at the current line, you know, but I think there was value around the minus 200 mark. Kind of going now. Let's have a look at inside the distance. Shogun wins by knockout, minus 160. Would have liked a bit lower, to be fair. Look, I think if you haven't played the fight yet and you want to, I think that is the bet to make. Shogun by KO, minus 160, or inside the distance is minus 150. So take that. So yeah, Shogun inside the distance would be the play there for me. It is set at 1.5. Under is plus 100. I don't think that's the worst bet in the world. I mean, Shogun hasn't stopped anyone early since, well, going back to the Tahuna fight, but you know, he's fought durable guys. You know, you look at who he's fought that he's got wins over in recent time. Leonog, Corey Anderson. He dropped Corey a couple of times in that fight as well. Young Valenti. He had Valenti. I mean, he dropped Valenti a couple of times before he actually got the KO win. You know, I don't see Paul Craig as well, which I've not touched on. He's not got a great chin. I just think this guy gets put down. So for me, yeah, it's Shogun all day for me. Main event next. So it's Jan Błachowicz taking on Jacare. So we've got another aging middleweight moving up to 205 here. We've seen it recently with Rockhold and Chris Weidman. Didn't work out well for them. What I will say though is Jacare doesn't have, or hasn't shown yet anyway, a cracked chin like the previous two. Guy's got a solid chin, but he didn't look great for me against Hermansson. I bet Jacare in that fight, and really I was just really surprised by the performance. I mean, he barely went for any takedowns, which kind of threw me off. I definitely thought that was going to be a factor in the fight, him getting on top, but it was him getting taken down by Hermansson and just offering nothing. I mean, he is 39 now. Well, he's practically 40. He's 40 next month. So, you know, he's getting up there, Jacare. He's coming off a war with Chris Weidman at middleweight. I think I had it 1-1 personally, but I think the judges had him 2 rounds down going into that third round. Before that, the Kelvin Gastelum fight, a lot of people think he won that fight, so, you know, it was competitive there. I mean, I guess he hasn't looked that bad. It's just a Hermansson fight, really. I mean, I didn't see that coming at all. I know some people bet Hermansson, and that was a solid bet. But I was pretty confident Jacare was going to win there. But yeah, just I don't know. I really can't put my finger on it. I mean, Hermansson, maybe it was just Hermansson is that good. But something looked off with him there. He was just struggling with the striking of Hermansson, which I thought he would just kind of, there were spells where Souza came forward. I think it was it round 3 where he started turning it up and it looked like the tide was turning, but then round 4 started and Hermansson took control again. So he's taken on Jan Błachowicz here, who Jan is in career best form. He used to have a big issue with his cardio, Jan, but somehow he's corrected it. I mean, cardio is one of those things that it seems to be physiological and it's very hard to correct, but Jan's done something and his cardio is okay now. He's won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of his last 6. He just got the loss to Thiago Santos in there, and he was doing alright against Santos. It was 1-1 going into round 3. I think I actually live betted Jan in that fight as well. The questions here that are hard to answer for me are: is Jacare even going to try for takedowns? I know he's fought wrestlers lately, but then you've got the Hermansson fight. He didn't really try for any takedowns there. Jan, again, that has been a weakness in the past for him. We've seen him taken down a fair bit. Gustafsson got easy takedowns on him. Patrick Cummins, I know Cummins is a good wrestler. Corey Anderson wrestled him for 3 rounds. He's not really fought any wrestlers. I mean, he's Devin Clark fight, and then he fought Manuel and Cannonier and Krylov actually did take him down. Maybe he wasn't expecting it. And then he managed to stuff Luke Rockhold's takedown attempt. So, the jury's still out on his takedown defence, but is Souza going to be looking for takedowns here, or is he just going to be content to just try and win this or turn it into a brawl and win this on the feet? £20 is a lot of weight to be moving up. It's just dependent on what suit. Look, I can't pull the trigger on Jan. I mean, he's dropped actually slightly. He's minus 185 now. I think this is quite a hard fight to get a read on, to be perfectly honest. And I'm gonna actually, as I say, it's a betting podcast. I will go where I think the value is. And even though my head is saying Jan probably wins this fight, as a bettor, if you said to me I have to bet this fight, I would definitely take the plus 165 on Souza. Now, I can't give you an exact breakdown on this fight because I think it's a really hard fight to read. Is Souza going to come out? Is he going to wrestle? Is he going to be content to stand? If he does stand, is he going to be able to take the power of Błachowicz up at 205? As I said, his chin is the one thing that hasn't shown any signs of cracking or deteriorating, unlike Rockhold and Weidman when they moved up to 205. So he's got that going for him, and of course he's got that world-class ground game. If he does, Jan's a black belt himself, but if he does get Jan down, if he can get onto his back, how's things going to look then? Then historically, Jan's takedown defense hasn't been great, but he does look an improved fighter. His cardio is definitely better, and his takedown defense seems to have improved. I know they brought in that Olympian to their training camp a while back because it seemed to help everyone across the camp with regards to their wrestling. But truth be told, it's not really been tested. I mean, Rockhold was the last guy to kind of test it, but Luke, it's not like Luke's a great wrestler, let's be real. So you bring those factors in, and it's a 5-round fight as well. If Jan's cardio does start to differ a bit, but it's just hard to have faith in Jacare when you think of the Hermansson fight. But I'm going to pick him just based on the line value, even though I think Jan's probably going to win this fight. If I was just making an outright pick, I'd probably be Jan, but if you're a betting man, for me, if I had to risk money, I would take the plus 165 over the minus 190. So I'm going to go with Jacare, but not confident. But it'd be great to see him pull out the win here. So that's the card done, guys. Good luck with all your bets. If you're betting, good luck with your predictions, your DraftKings, whatever you're doing. Let's hope it's an entertaining card, because we've got a break on UFCs for 3 weeks. But like I said, we will be back next week. There's Cage Warriors, there's Bellator. There's going to be bets on those cards, and we're going to have live betting available for the boxing as well. So we're still going to be busy next weekend. ProMMABetting.com for the packages. £195 for 12 months, guys. £100 unit bettors are £12,400 in profit this year. £200 investment, so £12,200 profit overall. Tell me where there's a better investment out there, guys. As I said, all available on the website, and I will be starting anyone that purchases a package between now and the 7th of December. All packages will start on the 7th of December, but you will still receive access to live betting and any pre-bets for any of the cards between now and the 7th of December. So you're effectively going to get 3 weeks free for whatever package you get. It has to be a monthly at least, though. But 90% of our members are in for the year. Like I said, treat it like a long-term investment. You're going to make money, but you need to see the bigger picture. You need to take a view for 12 months. So good luck, everyone, and we'll be back probably not until the week commencing, what would it be, like the 1st of December roughly. So we'll be back then to break down that UFC card that I can't even remember what the main event is off the top of my head. But yeah, we'll be off for a few weeks, guys. So good luck, everyone.